at the height of COVID, there were people celebrating essential workers. We had this focus on the essential workers, celebration of migrants, the realization of the housing crisis, and simultaneously a real broader conversation, a populist conversation emerging around pandemic profiteering, the ways in which grocery stores were raising prices. Now, fast forward 2 years later, and suddenly it's like those migrants are now responsible for the housing crisis. It's a victory for the ruling class to have successfully reframed the debate away from speculators and billionaires and the failures of all of the provincial governments across the country who've deeply underfunded essential services, who can now all blame refugees or migrant workers or immigrants. And at the same time, I want to say that there is a massive increase in racism. Our members are experiencing more violence in the street. We're seeing more discrimination on the job. The hate mail that I'm receiving has increased on every one of our staff. Our phone calls, our social media comments, messages, on all sides, we're seeing the racism drum is beating louder. And I think that we cannot wait until there are riots in the street to do something about it. I mean, that's why on September 14th and 15th, we're doing this Say No to Racism, Say Yes to Immigrant Justice actions across the country. And so the conditions on the ground for migrants are getting worse, for immigrants are getting worse, for workers are getting worse. There's a distraction from the core issues. As I said, what it has most successfully done is it's distracted us from holding, the billionaires, the speculators, the bankers responsible for the immiseration of the working class that began really in this newest, most expedited phase during COVID-19 and has just been increasing. When we are all suffering in this massive crisis, I mean, it's impossible to make ends meet for most people. And they have all been convinced the problem is migrants and immigration. The old chant used to be unemployment and inflation are not caused by immigration. That's bullshit. Get off it. The enemy is profit. Right? This is a chant from the 80s. And every time we have unemployment and inflation, you see the racism train pull into the station. And it did right on time. And that's where we're sitting right now. I think that taking on the question of racism is the fundamental question of this moment. Every social movement organization in this country must put resources towards stopping the rise of racism for their own self-interest, because racism is a strategy to distract the working class from holding those truly responsible accountable.